Hello, episode 5, the 5th of September 2025, Anno Domini, and welcome to episode 5. So, we are discussing at length the different eras that have happened during the course of time. And we've got contemporary era, we've got the Reformation era, we have the Christian medieval era in Ireland. We have the Celtic era. We have the bronze metallic era, whatever we want to call that, bronze, gold, iron, whatever, that general period. And we have this Neolithic era, which I'm beginning to label the spiraling vague, the vague era. And I suppose I wanted to get into a lot. We spoke a lot about spirals or doodles in the last episode, and I really want to concentrate on that in this particular one as well. And I know I want you to understand that while I was sort of, this very simple spiral, you'll see a picture of it here, is the same that we have on the front of Newgrange here. And this image is 5,000 years old. So this stone is still existing today, and it has existed for over 5,000 years. And it is extremely significant on modern architecture, and on modern thought, and on modern ideas. The spiral in itself, where does it come from? Why is it there? And why is it important today? It's on our Celtic imagery. It's on our Celtic crosses. It's on the staircases that we make. It has permutations that are tangible, that go back 5,000 years at least. I was going through these various different things. I also want to categorize these time zones on different contrasting activities that still exist today. And they include things like farming, okay, because we all need food. If you're living today and you want to go and eat, you can ring for food today. You can go and ring for a pizza. How are you doing? Yeah, can I get a pepperoni, ham, cheese, onions, and no olives, please? And I don't like pineapple. No pineapple, please. You can do that now in 10 minutes. Your pizza will be there in an hour or even less. Can you imagine your granny doing that? Or her granny ringing for a pizza? I don't think so. There was no supermarkets when your granny's granny was alive. There was only farms and houses and places where we lived, and markets. There would have been markets to buy food, for sure. But they weren't open all day. They're probably only open in the morning. And that's only 150 years ago. Go back 300 years. Go back 600 years. Go back 900 years. Go back 1,000 years. You go to the supermarket then? How you doing? Me pizza's late. Yeah, well, I'm not paying for that now. I don't want it. No. You had to build your own pizzas. You had to grow your own food to get on the pizza. You had to have your own animals to top your pizza with. Yeah. Or wherever part of the world, you weren't eating noodles. There was no noodles in Ireland 400 years ago, never mind 20 years ago. So what were they eating back then? What were they doing back then? We know the KG fields were there. This is 5,000 years ago. It's a long time ago. Really, really long time ago. Just to put it in perspective as well, these different eras we have. This era, the what we're calling the contemporary era, is 225 years old. And this era here, the following one, the Reformation, is 300 years old. So it's gradually getting bigger, you see? 225, even though it's in the same bracket here, the time is getting bigger. The space and scope of time that we're looking at is getting bigger in comparison to the baseline of time. 300 years, Now we're into 1,000 years. Look how much more time we are doing in one scope. You see? The next one is 1,500 years. This is the Celtic area, 1,500 years. So since the Celts are here, we've had 15 and 1,000. We've had 3,000 years nearly going by. Like, Jesus is born around here. Okay? We don't even know he's a bit further up, isn't he? He's born around here on that timeline. We don't even know he's alive for 400 years. And that's on word of mouth. From some Welsh slave that told us about him. And he's still around. We still believe in him. We fight over him. We live by his rules. You know? And that's only here. Okay? So, 1,500. Go back into the Bronze era when they were making the bling. The gold necklaces for your beautiful queens. The women you fought for. Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine the struggle and strife, huh? To get a bronze or a gold or a, yeah. To marry, to have family. Yeah. 2,000 years. So that's a 2,000 year period there, the Bronze period. And we're going back 500 BC. We're going right back to here to 3,000 BC. You know, 1,000 BC or so there. 3,000 BC is when all this starts, when they're making the bling. That's 2,000 years. Jesus is only dead 2,000 years. And we're going right back. So you see, and then we're going into when they were making the spirals. It's 3,000 years. It's up to 6,000. It's up to 2,000, 3,000. It's up to 6,000 BC, 8,000 years ago. Now, a long time gone. We know we think Newgrange was built about 5,000 years ago, which is on this cusp here. But why were they putting the spirals in the wall then? I want you to think about the construction of Newgrange. And, I mean, I've been in it, you know, and I've seen it. Like, it's a there are slabs that, in the centre of the thing, there's like a funeral pyre. They definitely did cremations there, for sure. And because under the pyre, it goes up and there's a you could see it's almost like a chimney. But those layers are built with these massive slate slabs. Massive things. They're still there. It's still waterproof. You can't get water into the chamber from above the way it's constructed 5,000 years ago. So, can you imagine the amount of manpower it took to get all that rock and slate from all over the country to that mound where the architects of the design of that had been studying that window where they were going to put the light through? Can you imagine the effort, the communication it took to do that? Who were these people? They had no paper to write on. They had no... how do you organise that? To get slabs from all over the country to that spot? I mean, talk about Stonehenge. Look at Newgrange. Built out of rock from all over the country. Built to last 5,000 years without a plan. And on the outside of it, spirals. Here's a spiral I drew myself yesterday morning, actually, as it happened. This is the second run on this video, and I've got a little thing of Newgrange here underneath. And I do this. You might have heard of Archimedes or Fibonacci. Fibonacci was an Italian mathematician. He's born in 1170, I think. I'll firm that up. Fibonacci, Leonardo Fibonacci, he's born in 1170. In 1167, Strongbow invaded Ireland with the Norman army and took over the country. 3 years after he invaded Ireland with archers and... In Italy, Leonardo Fibonacci has been born. The Italians are seriously smart people. Wow. Like the Romans built the Colosseum, they built Rome. There is evidence of their architecture all over the Europe into Persia, you name it. I mean, wow. You know, they're really smart people. The Medicis, Leonardo da Vinci, you know, Fibonacci, okay? He studied the Fibonacci sequence, which is a sequence of numbers that equate to a spiral. So when you take a Fibonacci sequence, you go one, I think it's one, what is the Fibonacci sequence? Let's have a quick look at it. Fibonacci, Italian mathematician, that's it there. You can do it into boxes or squares, but it's where you add the previous number by the number that goes, so it's always oscillating outwards in a constant spiral. The Fibonacci sequence. It's fundamental in a lot of, even in music. Like, did you ever hear that song Bolero? Bum, bubba bum, bubba bum, bum, bubba bum, bubba bum, bum, Bolero. That's a Fibonacci sequence. Just a big long Fibonacci sequence. Slowly, subtly put in there. Bubba bum bum bum, bubba bum, bubba bum bum, ba da 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 da. Fibonacci. So, I think Bolero, whoever wrote it, but it's based on a spiral because it's constantly going. Bubba bum bum bum, doodly doodly doo, bubba bum bum bum, bubba bum bum ba da 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 da. Just like that. And beside it, I've drawn a cone. A simple cone like you eat your ice creams in. What's a cone? It's a three-dimensional spiral, isn't it? Look. All the way to the top. Yeah, it is. A cone. Look at it. The further you go back in time, the less you know about the spiral. But it's such a significant thing. Archimedes, who was born about 200 years before the birth of Christ. Archimedes, he made arcs, fundamental mathematician. Like, Archimedes, woo! Like, I mean, he was Greek-Italian, wasn't he? So Greek, definitely. But he definitely lived in Italy. The Greek Empire was in Italy at the time, I think. Don't say it too loudly, but I think that was definitely happening. I mean, there was the whole thing. Around the time of Alexander the Great, Archimedes was alive. You know? Serious people. And they were able to write it down. And that theory was there. So here's the timelines for you now. So Archimedes was 200. So 200 years before Jesus is born. And some people don't even believe in Jesus. Think, oh, so that's all hogwash. Well, we get into that. But, you know, 200 years before he's born, when the Roman Empire existed, you know, there's a guy called Archimedes, and he's doing his own spirals. Again, look, he's studying them. There it is there, the Archimedean spiral. Look, there's actually algebra around it. Real algebra that you don't understand in school. Oh no, I hate algebra. Fucking right you do. But they knew about it 2,000 years ago. 2,400 years ago. Here, Archimedes is doing up equations based on an image that we have evidence of being 2,500 years previously on a burial site in Ireland. Woo! What's happened in all this time? It's taken 2 millenniums. You imagine Jesus born 2,400 years ago, in the same time period. So we have crosses now and stuff around your neck, and people go, oh, you shouldn't have, you know. That's an image of the sacrifice of Christ for humankind, or whatever you want to call that. We get into that. But the spiral is also a seriously important image. What was it that people back then found so significant about that image? Was it just easy to draw? Was that it? Is it like, you know, oh yeah, sure, diddly-idle-doo, bubba-da-bum-bum, diddly-idle-doo, bubba-da-bum-bum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Is it that simple? No. It's deeper. Big time. Big time deeper. And I'll tell you why. You're building someone like Newgrange in Ireland. That was built by the most powerful people in the country. The real dons. Who was the King of Ireland in 5,000 years ago? Nobody knows. We've got all these different names. I mean, Nobody knows who was the King of Ireland when they built that. There's no name of the person. Like, you've got people like, say, Sláine MacDara, who they know him. I mean, the River Slaney is named after him. You can put, and poets wrote about them. So that's mythology. We made up names of people we thought might have been kings then, and that's in the Bronze Age. That's be after the people tangibly built Newgrange. We don't know who they were, but by God, they were powerful. They were the man. You did not mess with them, and you did what they said. You carried rocks from every corner of the country to a mountain in Meath, or a hill, beside the River Boyne. They probably used the Boyne to transport the rocks. I get that. That's why it's built beside it. Because you would have had craft, and you could have put the rock on the river and brought it down. That would make sense to me. If they were building construction like that, they were able to have boats on that river. And rivers would have been used for transportation. That makes a lot of sense to me. You know, I don't know how they would have got the rock down, but I think that's how they moved it around. A lot easier to move it on the water than it would have been to, because there wasn't many horse. I don't know if we donkey at all. I don't know what they were doing to get stuff around. A lot of men. I mean, the pyramids were built at the same time. How did they build those things? So the people who built Newgrange and built the simple old spire, the spiral, they were really strong people and powerful men. Could you imagine me going down to Phoenix Park tonight, or to down to Phoenix Park today, okay, and saying I want to build a burial tomb here? Would you fuck off? Get out of that. Who's your man? I'm not building anything for you. What are you for? What? Pay me. The whole thing. And there was no money back then. So whoever built this was a serious king. And possibly, did they build it in 10 years? Did it take a lifetime? Did it take 2 lifetimes to construct? Was it a constant thing? We're building this every so slowly? Probably built over time. Probably. Slowly but surely built over generations of powerful people that were connected to the skies, to the stars, where the spiral was going around. Do you ever see a picture of the Milky Way? There it is. That's the Milky Way there. Looks interesting, doesn't it? And that's an image we have of it. Remind you of anything? Yeah. These people were so connected to astrology and the stars, we've completely ignored that in our time. That's all they had. That was their map. What's up there? What's going on? How does that affect what we're doing next week, today, and tomorrow? There's small imagery of sundials and stuff. They definitely use the sun for time during the day, but they use the skies to time their lives. They knew that constellation was coming across at that time, and that indicated that spring was coming or summer was coming to sow crops so they could eat. You see? They had to eat. You had to eat. And there wasn't much animal. I don't know what animals were, but you'd obviously scavenge others. But they knew to sow stuff or to manage stuff or to protect stuff so they could eat. Blackberries or mushrooms, or they're the only wild foliage I know. I'm sure there's more. All those truffles and all. But that's how they lived. Berries, nuts, you name it. Probably ate barks of trees. Who knows? Nettles. You know, bracken, whatever they were on. Your ancestors. And they needed a knowledge of the skies to know when the seasons were coming, to know when it was going to get cooler or warmer. They might feel it in the day, but they would have done all the same things. They would have needed to know the red skies at night, the shepherd's delight. Those little simple things are intrinsic on our psyche. They're there for centuries. There's a huge connection between the spiral and the universe and the skies. Look at this. Here's the earth spinning around. Like I'm a Kylie Minogue song. Spinning around. Look. It's a spiral. We live. Survive. Get by. Eat. Sleep and walk. Spirals. Doodling spirals. Fibonacci sequences. Archimedean You go to the fairground, you go on the spiral staircases. It's an intrinsic part of our life, and we've always known it. You think of the Big Bang and the way the Earth moves. I think we're going at 400,000 miles a second or an hour. We're going really quick. From an explosion that happened 14 or 15 billion years ago, we estimate, we don't know for sure, but from some sort of an anomaly that happened in the middle of nowhere, like a black hole inversion or whatever way we want to classify it, we're on that now, and we're going and we're following a sun that's booting like a bullet for the last 14 billion years, and it's going to continue for the next 90, God knows how long, as long as that power and that energy is forcing itself on us in its gravitational pull around it, like a bullet spiraling through the sky. That's where we're going. Whatever direction that is, it's infinite. We don't actually know what way we're going because we can't calculate. We've no ends and means. It's relative to what's happening. These spirals. Don't tell me that the kings that built Newgrange weren't aware of that. Don't you dare. They knew that. That is why they put so much emphasis on it, on the shape that it was, that they actually wrote it down for future to see. It's like a time capsule. We want people to know now what we know now. It's like building a monument or a statue or making a theory or a conclusion on something that I'm concluding now. These guys, who we don't know who they were, their names, we don't. We know they were powerful. They had to be really, 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 really powerful. 2,500 years before they built the Colosseum in Rome, they built that burial chamber and put spirals on it, which was a theory of existence and was their way of explaining how they lived in their lives. So when you're eating a tangle twister tomorrow, or when you're eating a cone that was designed on a spiral, that's an image of the Milky Way, that's possibly or probably a theory of our existence and our movements through time, based on our knowledge of the stars, that we couldn't write down because there was no paper to write on. We could only incise it with rocks into stone. Remember where you're from and who your ancestors were and how smart they were and how industrious they were. They couldn't ring for pizza. No, don't want any pineapple on that. No, you couldn't do that. You had to carve your own stones, bring them on a boat up the river to the powerful men who were building it, or you mightn't eat. Next time.